You got a Ferrari, right?
PlayStation 5 Pro for $100 more than the
Ish. We can't afford the Ferrari gearbox either, so we'll take that from a Mustang. Can somebody finally do this accurately and fairly? Now, I've seen a whole bunch of videos like this, people claiming they can do a PS5 Pro beating PC for the same or less money, and then you look at it, you see what they're doing, and it's like less specs, not equivalent parts, not the same, not even the same size SSD sometimes, let alone the same speed and things like that. But let's have this guy's take on it. I haven't actually seen this video before, didn't even know he existed before today, but 4.11 million subscribers is a heck of a lot, so he should know his stuff. He's got a big following, so let's see what he's got to say. And he's doing it a bit different. I'm not seeing this as a PS5 beating PC for 700. It's like 700 custom PC versus a PS5 Pro. So basically, how close can you get to it, or how much better can you get to it for 700? So let us take a look.
So the PS5 Pro was announced. You know what that means? It's time for a new round of bullshit console say. So the PS5 Pro, I'm not going to talk about the specs and stuff of that. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about whether or not you can build a PC that is on the same level as the PS5 Pro. And you know what? This is nothing new.
Level.
Every single time a console comes out or gets an upgrade or a mid-cycle refresh or whatever, there's the whole like, it's gonna do the most amazing thing it could do that a PC can't do, even though it's PC parts inside of it. Today we're gonna use our friends at Micro Center to see how...
Just quickly, I think PC people are far worse the other way around than the console people for that kind of thing. It really gets people's PC people's backs up when a new console comes out. And I'm kind of neither here nor there. I've got a gaming PC and I've ordered a PS5 Pro. I'm just intrigued to see how close you can get for the same kind of money. And I have no allegiance to either. But I do prefer the convenience of consoles, I have to be honest. I like to be able to sit on my settee or couch or whatever, play games like that. I know you can do that with a PC as well, but most wives or girlfriends don't really want a hulking great tower thing in the living room and stuff like that. And I'm semi-retired, and the only work I do now, if you want to call it work, is my YouTube videos, but I do that at a desk on a PC. I don't really want to stop my work and then game at a desk on a PC. I want to chill out in front of the telly. So it's like, it's each to their own. They're both viable systems depending upon what you want, but let's carry on.
Well, we can come to trying to match the specs of the PS5 Pro while also trying to decipher what those specs really are, because they didn't actually say. So here's what we're gonna do. We are using our friends at Micro Center, and which is our local Tustin store. We're gonna see what kind of PC part list we can come up with using their configurator to see if we can come anywhere close to the specs on this, and maybe we'll build it. All right, so I'm gonna use Micro Center's custom PC builder. So it's just a configurator, and it's cool because of the fact that it allows you to put parts in there, and it will check compatibility for you too. So if you picked, like, let's say a 4080 Strix, which is a really long card, and you're like, I wanna put it in this micro ATX case, it kind of knows it ain't gonna fit, so it will filter out things that are not compatible.
That's
so
good.
If you were to select a certain large GPU, then only cases that are compatible would show up and all that, because it knows the length of the card and the clearances in the cases. It actually does a lot of the guesswork for you, so that you don't have to worry about getting parts that are incompatible, which is kind of nice. So I'm gonna start right here with bundles. It is impossible to match Micro Center's bundle deals. So already right there, we have to put a little bit of an asterisk on this video saying, if it wasn't for the bundles, we probably would not be able to get anywhere near the PS5 Pro's $700 price. I'm gonna say this.
Well, that's really honest of him, and that's really refreshing, because in the videos I've seen before of this type, there's people claiming you can easily get the PS5 Pro performance from a PC for the same, or even some people say less money.
We're near the PS5 Pro's $700 price. I'm gonna say this right now, this is a challenge. $700 for the specs that are in it is gonna be very, very difficult to even achieve, let alone come close to. So I'm curious to see how close we can really get here. The other reason why they can do it at $700 is the fact that because they have one PCB that everything gets put on is what makes it even close to being affordable for them to do, because they're not having to do They're not having to buy completed components from manufacturers individually, which is what we're having to do here. We have to buy a completed CPU, which is the die and the substrate and the pins and the whole...
Yeah, but that's an advantage of a console against a disadvantage of a PC gaming rig. This is why some people prefer consoles, because what it's doing is cheaper for the money. He's already almost practically confirmed that. But I want to see how close he gets.
Completed components from manufacturers individually, which is what we're having to do here. We have to buy a completed CPU, which is the die and the substrate and the pins and the whole mechanism, right? We have to buy the motherboard, again, which is another company that had put in the cost to tool and manufacture the motherboard. Same thing with the SSD. Same thing with the graphics card, the power supply, the case. Every single one of those companies need their profit built into the pricing. So that's...
Don't forget Wi-Fi 7. Don't forget the DualSense controller or equivalent decent gaming mouse and keyboard if you're doing it on a PC spec. You know, decent quality, not like a cheap 10 quid one. Gonna be interesting, this.
With the graphics card, the power supply, the case. Every single one of those companies need their profit built into the pricing. So that's why Sony can even come close to doing it for, I think, break-even price at this point. Sony's been known to take hits on the cost of consoles because they make money on the game sales. That's where they want to make their money, but I think Sony now is like, you know what, we're done losing money on consoles. Let's at least try and break even, which is what the $700 price point is more than likely doing. I have just sorted the bundles by lowest price first. And this is why we're going to go with this, an Intel system. Wait, before you start typing, oh my God, Jay's an Intel shill, it's a 12th gen. 12th gen's fine, okay? I may or may not have used 12th gen in Miami as well. We get a 12600KF, which, as you know, does not have an iGPU built into it. We get a Z790 MSI motherboard, which is overkill. I would have loved to be able to save more money by letting it bundle it with like a B650 or something like that, but they don't have any of those. It's just like all Z790. And we get 16 gigabytes of the G-Skill Ripjaws memory. So it's actually $259.99 for that bundle. So once I put that in the configurator, look at what it does to the price. It brings the CPU to $90. Let's do this real quick. Let's see what it costs on
45
Amazon. 140 bucks.
Wow.
Even their online bundle from Micro Center on Amazon is more expensive than the bundle you get in store, and it doesn't include RAM. So you can see why I say there's an asterisk, because unless you live near one of their 27 Micro Centers, with the latest one just opened in Miami, and Santa Clara, California coming later this year, which I'm looking forward to, another store in California. It's actually a store they used to have that they took away, and they're like, you know what, let's put it back. And they did. So,
well, so in other words, unless you happen to live near one of those 27 centres, you cannot buy the bundles for the money he's buying at. They're going to be a lot more expensive. So I don't know what he's going to come out with at the end, how comparable it's going to be, how much it's going to be, but you're going to have to add a chunk of money onto it at the end, because he's getting these things at a bundle price, which, by the sound of it, 98% of the world isn't going to be able to do, because it's a walk-in micro centre, if I got that right, where you can only get those bundles from.
And they're like, you know what, let's put it back. And they did. So anyway, the motherboard is Z790 Pro from MSI, $135, marked down from $209. And then RAM, we saved $5 on the RAM. We went from
saving to saving,
$39 to $34. It's DDR4 3200. So this is where we're sort of like hurting ourselves a little bit here, is because of the fact that we are being reduced to DDR4, and it's the only way it's going to be affordable. So that's the downside, because of the fact that, remember, Intel 1700, LGA 1700 boards can be DDR4 or DDR5. Going DDR5 makes it a bit more expensive to try and do this. So we have to take some hit on the DDR4, unfortunately, but that's the only way we can make this work. Before we go to video card, we need to get some other stuff in our cart to see what we're left with for graphics. So
already, the PS5 Pro is sounding like terrific value, because he's already taking hits, corner cuts, buying bundles you can't get anywhere else to try and just match the price of the PS5 Pro. So all the people out there saying it's expensive, it's, you know, too much money, doesn't compare to the same price PC, already they are proved monumentally wrong. This is in front of you, it's fact, it's literally undeniable, unless you're just one of those people that's like, no, I cannot see that, no, I cannot hear that, I refuse to accept the truth. and there are plenty of them people out there.
For instance, if I sort our M.2s by the lowest price, we cannot do a 2 terabyte drive and still be at the $700 budget.
So not even getting a 2 terabyte drive now. Wow, this is looking, PS5 Pro is looking more bargainous all the time. Because a 2 terabyte drive for me was one of the big selling points. I loved what it does anyway, and I'm looking forward to mine. I've got it pre-ordered. But on the PS5 base unit, which has got, I think, 825, 875 usable gigabytes of memory, this is not enough. I'm always moving games backwards and forwards to the external drive, and with 2 terabytes, that is a big deal for me. That is really, really nice to have that on the Pro. So he's not even using a 2 terabyte SSD with this. Interesting.
By drive and still be at the $700 budget. We cannot. We're left with for graphics. So for instance, if I sort our M.2s by the lowest price, we cannot do a 2 terabyte drive and still be at the $700 budget. We cannot do that. That's impossible. So we're gonna have to stick to a 1 terabyte drive and really lean on the fact that we
half
can
the SSD.
in the future. Yes, so can the PS5 and PS5 Pro more than likely, but this is just unfortunately the drawbacks of building a PC and each one of these companies having to bake in profit in an individual part basis means that we have to be sticking with a 1 terabyte drive.
You see how close you can get for 700.
I want to at least take advantage of some of the faster drive speed that's
taking
available.
hits.
So we're going to go with the Inland QN450 1 terabyte SSD. It's a 3D QLC NAND PCIe Gen 4x4. It's a 2280, which is a standard length drive. $65.99. We could have saved money and gone all like down to the $59.99 right here, but as you can see, that's a Gen 3. So I understand that this is a QLC. Some people may or may not like that. That's just what we're going with. The nice thing is you can always upgrade your drive later if you want. Okay, we need a case. So this is one of those sort by lowest price first. Actually, this whole build has been this way. But sort by lowest price first. The Thermaltake V100 ATX, I don't believe comes with any fans. That was my biggest problem with it. It's a pretty standard case, no side panel or anything, but for $44.99, I feel like going with the $5 more expensive Inland X1, which comes with 4 fans pre-installed. Yes, they're RGB puke, but there's 4 fans in there. So, and we know it'll fit all of our parts in there, and it fits a full ATX board, so we're not stuck with like micro ATX or anything like that. So we're gonna go with that. Not just because it's an MSI, and it's not because it's a Micro Center sponsored video. It's literally because it's the first case that seems like has a value at $49 with the extra fans that we're gonna need. And that brings our total currently to $375.95, which is like the price we saw on Amazon over here for just a motherboard and CPU for the same thing.
Mad.
From Micro Center, nonetheless. So you can see why this is an insane deal, because this includes a case and storage and RAM and motherboard and CPU, and we're at $375. I'm not leaving the builder. You're leaving the builder. You're drunk. Okay, so we need a power supply. There's a power spec 500 watt. I'd like to build in a little bit of headroom to grow with this system in the future, which is something you can't do on PlayStation. You can't upgrade components or parts later. So I don't want us to be shoehorned into a 500 watt power supply. I think 650 is gonna be the much better option for us here. So for $49.99, we have a power spec 650 watt 80 plus bronze. I know power spec, again, is the in-house brand for Micro Center. I'm comfortable with that because if you bought it at a Micro Center, hopefully that means you live close enough to one to where if it ever did something weird, you can bring it back to Micro Center. Because Micro Center will directly warranty this stuff in-house because it's their stuff. So instead of having to do G-Skill where you have to like RMA it and send it off somewhere, I'm more comfortable with the idea of driving for us the 45 minutes to Micro Center if something were to happen to this power supply. I haven't used power spec in a build of mine, but I've talked to a lot of people who have and they're happy with it. So we're gonna roll the dice on that one. What's left? Heatsink. We got to cool our CPU. 12600KF does not come with a box cooler, which would have been nice to have to save the $20, but I'm gonna tell you right now, $20 is definitely $20 in this build. So we're gonna go with the Cooler Master Hyper 212 Spectrum V3. It's only $20. Add that to our cart and we're at $445.95. So that essentially leaves us $255 for a GPU. You can see the problem now, right? Because a 60 CU GPU puts it at approximately an RX 6800. I'm gonna move on to the GPU now. We're left with $255, and I know what GPU I'm gonna go with because we already did some research on this. If we go to Tech Power Up, RX 6800, so you can see right here it has 60 CUs, okay? So 6800 has 60 CUs, and we can use that as our comparison target. So now if we look at the relative performance, there's our highlighted performance right there. We can find the stuff that's near it. So a 7700 XT is 98% of the relative performance of the 6800. A 4070 is 111%. We know 4070 is nowhere near our budget because that would almost be the entire budget going to just the graphics card. But if we look down here, we can see we've got a 6750 XT at 85% of it and a 3060 Ti at 77% of it. Now here's the problem. If I put the 7600 XT in here, it's gonna put us at $765.94. Now we're gonna have a little bit of an asterisk on this. And I'm gonna tell you what, I'm not using this card. The PS5 Pro does not include a stand. This thing is standing on right now, not included. It's 30 bucks if you want one. Sony also charges 80 bucks if you want the Blu-ray player, the Blu-ray drive. We're not putting...
Yeah, I can understand why he's not going to include those things in it for those reasons, but I get it why Sony didn't put those things in. Like, more people have their PlayStation horizontally and vertically. So basically what that would have meant is if they put the stand in there, you're forcing people to buy and pay for a stand, more people than actually are going to use it. So it makes sense to leave it out. And the Blu-ray drive is a much worse situation. Apparently 80% of people don't use the drive. And this is when the option was there and still is there to buy a PS5 with the drive. 4 out of 5 people pretty much never use the drive. So why on earth would they include the drive with it, pushing the price up even more? Probably going to make more people unhappy. Because 4 out of 5 people are going to say, oh my god, you are forcing me to buy a drive, which you know 80% of us don't use. Sony, you are ripping us off. So they couldn't win either way. But anyway, the point is, it doesn't come with the stand, it doesn't come with the drive. So I presume he's not going to put those things with this, which is fair.
Standing on right now, not included. It's 30 bucks if you want one. Sony also charges 80 bucks if you want the Blu-ray player, the Blu-ray drive. We're not putting a Blu-ray player or a drive in this PC, so we're not using the 80 bucks to compare. But our PC comes with its own stand. It's called a case, and all 4 feet are included. They're not extra cost.
30 quid off.
We're pulling an Apple model where we have to charge more for it. Or if you want the casters for the Pro, it's like $500 for the casters. Stupid like that.
What? Is that real? Apple Mac Pro wheels kit for $600. Wow. Not sure what we're saying about the stand there, but is he adding an extra $30 of leeway? Because if you want the stand, you have to have that, and that's already built in by virtue of having a case. Not sure, but either way, swings and roundabouts. It's not a lot of money either way.
Or if you want the casters for the Pro, it's like $500 for the casters. Stupid like that.
Wow.
So we are going to allow ourselves the $30. I think we probably won't even need it, to be honest.
Fair enough.
30 bucks for the stand. That still brings us $35 technically over budget. Now I think the 6750 XT would kind of have been the more comparable card to use, because obviously a 6800, where's my card? A 6800 is not doable. It is just far too expensive. So if I go ahead and search for 6800 XT right now, or excuse me, 6800 non-XT, if I select that one, then we're gonna be near 800 bucks. And the other thing we don't have in this cart either, $805. We also don't have an operating system in here. The Sony comes with one, but it's nothing but like, it's like if Steam Big Picture came on a PC and that's all you got, right? So the operating system is gonna be something that's kind of on you. Now what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna remove,
But you still need it.
kind of on you. Now what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna remove the 6800 Speedster, which at that point would have made this a... So I think what you can see right now, with the exception of the storage, we can build a PlayStation 5 Pro for $100 more than the cost.
Ish. SSD aside, Wi-Fi 7 aside, DualSense controller aside, because haptics and all the stuff like that, which you want to experience for that. But actually, no, that may be wrong, because it's a PC equivalent, and PC people prefer mouse and keyboard over controller. So
For $100 more than the cost of it. But I don't want to have that asterisk saying we went $100 over. They do have a card that I think will work just fine for this. That is the 3060 Ti at $249, and it's a Founders Edition card. I think I would...
That's the thing again. Like the other graphics card he used at first, before it went too expensive, was, he said, in his opinion, the best match for the PS5 Pro. So had to downgrade that to get it in budget, and it'll work just fine. But just fine is not as good. You know, there's still corners being cut here to get it for the same price. But this is the point of the video, not to show how much it costs to match a PS5 Pro. It's how close you can get to it for 700. And there's corners being cut. There's no Wi-Fi 7. There's no, obviously, controller. I mentioned that a second ago. The SSD is only 1 terabyte, not 2. Got a downgrading graphics card.
Edition card. I think I would rather have NVIDIA's DLSS upscaler, which is superior to FSR, in this build. And I think then we would get realistic, playable 100-ish FPS in many titles with DLSS set to like quality or balanced, with the 3060 Ti in 1440p, not 4K. Because even the PlayStation 5, when you do 4K, goes down to like 30 FPS on many of these games. I have a feeling with the 6800 CU card in the PlayStation 5 Pro, you're probably going to get a lot of titles that are also still 4K 30, maybe some that are 4K 60, depending on
to be seen.
How hard that engine is to run. So now we're at $695.94. So we're $5 under. That 35 extra bucks we have now, go to some CD key site and get your Windows key if you want to argue at me that I didn't include an OS, okay? Or just go pirate it. I don't care. It's not my job to determine whether or not you're getting it from a legal source. It's up to you to determine whether or not you're putting your system at risk by buying pirated software or downloading it or whatever. That's on you. Hardware-wise, this is what we got. So let's go get it. And here it is. So every single part right there, $695. It was $749 after tax. We didn't include tax because guess what? It'd be the same. Actually, it'd be $5 more for the PS5 Pro. Even though that's not a Pro, I'm pointing to it because it kind of looks the same. It has tax too. So both of them $700 before tax. It's the same after. Actually, it looks pretty good. I'm a little surprised at how good this turned out. Typically, when you try and do like this is a fairly budget build, even though it has a 12600KF, a Z790 motherboard, a 3060 Ti, RGB fans that are Molex and not really RGB. They just have individual LED colors in there that don't move, and they're Molex. Didn't know that when I bought it, but whatever. It looks good. The Hyper 212, forgot how good this cooler was. In fact, let's demonstrate that real quick. I got Hardware Monitor open right now, or HW Info, excuse me. So you can see our P cores and E cores. So if we go ahead, and I'm using the thermal paste that came with it.
See, it's definitely a taste thing, because some people will look at that and think it's just a beautiful looking thing. I think it looks not a mess, wouldn't go as far as say a mess, but I really like neatness. I love the neatness of consoles. I don't want to see through it and see all the components and wires and bits and fans and stuff like that. It's not my bag. And I know a lot of people, consoles are the same. Like some people, they've paid their money for it and they want to see it. You buy that fancy new graphics card as an upgrade a couple of years down the line, and they love to be able to see it through the thing and make sure it's visible and that sort of thing. Makes, that's each to their own though. Don't mind. It's like okay, but again, not for me.
You can see our P cores and E cores. So if we go ahead, and I'm using the thermal paste that came with it, I didn't even use zip ties. I was that dedicated to the craft of sticking to the budget that all I used were the twist ties that came off all the power supply cables on the back to twist tie everything up. There's really not a lot of room for cable management, by the way. It's not the most premium feeling build. Like the case itself for 49 bucks or whatever it cost. It is made by Montech, by the way. So the Inland case, the X1, is a Montech case. There was a collaboration, obviously, between Inland and Montech. Anyway, enough chatting. Let's go ahead and take a look at our score and our temperature in Cinebench R23. And I'm looking for package temp right here. Here's package, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63. The max it spiked even for a moment was 70. There's 68. So I have enough headroom if I wanted, even with the Hyper 212. I could go into the BIOS and probably enable a sync all core or add some additional thermal velocity boost or something to it. That would allow it to go even higher, which you can't do with your PlayStation. You cannot overclock.
No, but that's the point. People that like consoles don't want to do all this gumph. To me, it's gumph. To PC users, it's probably porn. But it's like, to me, Not interested. I do not want to have to do all that, play around with them settings, things like that. I just want to get a game, press go, done, and I'm off. Thank you very much. But if you're into all this, not knocking it.
Higher, which you can't do with your PlayStation. You cannot overclock your PlayStation. A lot of people wouldn't do that anyway. I don't even think I enabled XMP on the RAM now that I think about it. I should probably go ahead and reboot and do that. This is literally from the first boot. There's a 17,244 if you want to compare it to your PlayStation at home. Oh, oops, you can't do that. There we go. All I did was enable XMP. And we're going to go ahead and do Cyberpunk for this test. And here's why. Digital Foundry did a pretty good video. Well, their videos are all pretty in-depth and very scientific. They have their science licenses, okay? They were talking about the PS5, and obviously we have to speculate as to what the PS5 Pro is going to be capable of. If in Cyberpunk, if you don't have ray tracing on, you get 1440p 60. But the moment you turn on ray tracing, you get 1440p 30. It doesn't matter if you're on a 4K TV. Just because it's filling out your 4K TV does not mean it's playing at 4K resolution. That's what so many people get wrong.
Yeah, but it does vary from game to game as well. It depends upon the coding of that game. Like Gran Turismo is going to run in 4K 60 frames a second with 3 different modes of ray tracing on at the same time. So it does vary from game to game, but interesting you chose Cyberpunk.
Just because it's filling out your 4K TV does not mean it's playing at 4K resolution. That's what so many people get wrong. It's not. It's 1440p. So what I'm going to see right now is what we get without having a frame rate limiter on and playing around with our DLSS settings, because that's a feature we just paid for with PC, and I'm certainly not going to admit that because it's a feature we paid for. Let's see what kind of FPS we get with 1440p. We're assuming probably medium settings. We don't know exactly what the settings are because they're not exactly the same for console and PC. There's things that are missing from the console menu. So we're going to go medium, 1440p. And then non-ray tracing, I know we're going to be above 60 FPS, I think, I hope, really. And then we're going to turn on ray tracing and see if we go above 30. I'm going to speculate that with the newer hardware in the Pro, you're probably going to get 1440p 60 FPS ray tracing on. That's probably the only major difference you're going to see in terms of like settings and FPS limiters.
That's still pretty big though. Ray tracing is a big deal. It's almost like a game-ending graphical improvement because of the way ray tracing works. It basically articulates light the way your brain and your eyes expect to see it, and it just looks so much more realistic. It is mind-boggling. So ray tracing is a really big deal.
Major difference you're going to see in terms of like settings and FPS limiters. We have to speculate until we get our hands on one to really see what's happening there. With that said, let's launch it.
Let's launch over it.
So with all that said, let's talk about how they're getting the quote-unquote 4K resolutions in console. So we're at 1440p, no upscaling, I just mentioned that. In console, they're doing 1440p as a base res, FSR'd up to 1800p, and then a standard scale again to 4K. So your 4K game is 1800p. So it's not really 4K. And they're gonna be doing the same thing for quote-unquote 8K on the Pro.
So this is comparing it to a PS5, which has been out 4 years now. So we've got a more expensive PC, so it should be better. I think he's comparing it to a PS5 anyway. We must be, because obviously the PS5 Pro isn't here yet.
Now, turning on ray tracing on console, the only thing you get is local shadows. So as you can see on PC, we get this ray trace reflections, we get sun shadows, we get ray trace lighting, we get path tracing.
Again, when he says console, anyway, I think he means
if we go ahead and just
PS5,
turn on local shadows,
maybe
to
Xbox,
mimic
not sure.
Console, 72.
Not Pro.
This is actually really, really good looking. This looks better than it would have on console too, that's for sure. And let's not forget, this costs the same as that with the Pro.
No, that's actually a lot cheaper. That with the Pro, as I said, is hasn't been seen yet, and you've cut a shed load of corners off. So, but I'll be honest, he's to me sounding like a PC fanboy.
You know, I'm gonna go balanced. What does balance do real quick to this? Very little effect in terms of hitting FPS, but giving us a little bit more sharpness even, because performance is a lower base res that we upscale up to. So we just upped it one notch on the base resolution. So we're already over 60 FPS target here in 4K. Let's go ahead and turn on all the rays. How about ray trace reflections? Sure. That's where you take the big hit, is reflections. And that's why you don't get it on console.
That's why you don't get it on PS5. You do get it on the Pro. You're going to get it in abundance. Gran Turismo 7 has got 3 types of different ray tracing turned. All those ones there are going to be in Gran Turismo 7. It's 60 frames a second, 4K. So come on. When you say console, say PS5, 4 years old, Xbox, whatever, 4 years old, as you put it. The Pro does include that stuff. And this is what the comparison is meant to be. So come on, play the game.
So this is now kind of a mess. Okay, I think it's safe to say, for the same cost of a PlayStation Pro,
sort of,
we can build a PC
sort of,
that will absolutely destroy a PlayStation. But the PlayStation's $500. It's $200 cheaper than this.
PS5, yeah.
We will circle back with this same build. I will keep it together. I will not touch it. We will see, once we get a PlayStation Pro in hand, how they're after me.
That's quite funny. I'm glad he said that, because that's the point I was just getting to a minute ago. He's like, doing these things about the console can't do that. No, you're talking about something that's 4 years old now. And like I said, $200 less. And it's good that he's going to circle back when the Pro comes out and actually compare it to this build there. So that'd be an interesting video.
Let's talk about, let's just final thoughts here real quick. One, the major upsell to a computer and the concept of a computer is you can upgrade it.
Yes, but that's if you want to upgrade it. A lot of people don't want to upgrade it. That's like a PC fan talking. It's like, if you want that, then it's the major upsell. If you don't want that and you don't want to build things and you don't want to take things out and replace them every few months, then you don't buy a PC.
You can say, you know what? It's been a year now. I've got some extra cash I saved up. I can sell this 3060 Ti for a solid 200, 250 bucks, maybe 200 bucks by the time you do that, and get yourself like a 3080.
And I can't sell my PS5 for a really good amount of money, easily half the price of the Pro, and get an entirely brand new system with an entirely brand new warranty, not one part exchange and the rest of it's still old stuff. Come on, it's preference, and there's winning good things and bad things about either side. It's talking about it as if it's the be all and end all of why PC is so fantastic, and there's good sides to both. You can sell your old PS5 and get a Pro and put that towards it and effectively get a Pro for half price.
Instant, like double of FPS between a 3060 and a 3080. You could put a different cooler on here if you wanted, but I showed, like, for this CPU, there's no reason to. The biggest drawback of this exact setup is the DDR4. But as you can see right now, it's not holding us back in games so much. If we were going like 4090, then yeah, we would want all of the CPU performance uplift that we could get, and DDR5 does help with max FPS if the engine is, if the graphics card can push it to the engine limit. But upgradability, and it's a computer. You can do other things on it besides just play games.
Oh god, this part of the argument drives me nuts. Like I say, I haven't got any allegiance. I have a gaming PC and I have consoles, so I have both, so I don't care either way. But this thing about, yeah, but it's not just a gaming PC, it can do other things. But yeah, I can have a console and have a cheap laptop, which does all the other bits that I want, and it's a laptop. I can put it under my arm, take it with me anywhere I want. You can't do that with a hulking great tower thing, which is pretty much locked in place. So, I don't get that as a part of the argument. It's sort of trying to sell the PC magnificence this stage of the video again, where it's not supposed to be it. It's supposed to be just, as far as I can tell, how it compares as a gaming machine, and not the pros and cons and why PC is apparently better than consoles and vice versa.
You can use it as a tool to maybe make money, learn, go to school, work, all sorts of stuff. It's not just a...
You could do that with a laptop. Cheap laptop and still have your console.
One-trick pony. I guess 1.5 tricks now. I mean, this one has the disc player, but I guess it could be a multimedia player. But you gotta pay 80 extra bucks if you want to play discs. But I guess
at least it's a choice.
We all stream now anyway. Who cares about discs?
Yeah.
I haven't put a disc in a drive in I don't know how long.
So, yeah.
There you go. I would say I hope this settles some debate about whether or not you can build a PC for the price of a PlayStation 5 Pro that's worth it. But we all know.
And the debate is very clear, and the answer is no, you can't. Right, I'm just adding this bit to the video afterwards, because I did start watching it with the very clear intention of watching it as a reaction video where I just responded to what I'm seeing without giving so much of my own opinion. But the video for me kind of changed. It changed from being what I thought I was going to watch, what you can do with $700 PC, new parts, even at a discounted price, versus a PS5 Pro. And how good can it be, or how bad can it be? And it descended into a kind of console bashing exercise from who clearly is a PC fanboy. Let's be honest about that. It's very clear. Even on some of the things where I don't think they're valid arguments, like the PC can do more. Yes, so can a console with a cheap laptop. All those extra bits people always say about you can do on the gaming PC, you can do with a cheap laptop, as well as whatever console you prefer. So never regarded that as a valid argument. But going back to the video, when he says, so we did it. We built a PS5 Pro, same as that, without the Pro. Sort of give it all that. And it's like, no, you didn't. You didn't do anything like it. You took a hit on the graphics card. That was a big hit on a much, much better graphics card. You used DDR4 rather than GDDR6. It's a huge difference. You used a half-size SSD, which is a joke. On the conveniences of the console and the Pro in particular is the fact that you've got that big amount of storage now. It's like so much better not having to shift games between the main console and the external SSD. Didn't even talk about stuff like Wi-Fi 7. I know that a PC will have a Ethernet port, but the whole point of a console is it's ease of use. No wires trailing left, right and centre and having to find ways of hooking them wires up and sort of hiding the wires if you don't want your house to look like a spaghetti junction and things like that. No mention of a controller. Consoles love the fact you've got them haptics. It really adds to the immersion of games. Really good. I know PC users use mouse and keyboard, but still, a controller should have been built into that price if you're trying to do a we built a PS5 Pro. Well, look at it this way. You got a Ferrari, right? That Ferrari has been put together because it all works so well together. You got the body, the shape, got the engine, you got the gearbox, and you've got all the custom stuff inside, which makes it all work superbly well together. They're all designed, all in bits, are designed to work perfectly well to make that Ferrari be a Ferrari. What he's done here is he's taken a truck or transit van, said, oh, we're going to make a Ferrari. Honestly, we really are, but we can't actually afford to do it for the same money, because that's what the idea of the video was. So what we'll do, we won't use a Ferrari engine. We'll use something that's nearly as good. We'll take a Corvette engine or something like that. We'll put that in instead, because it still makes you go forward when you put your foot down, you know. And we can't afford the Ferrari gearbox either. So we'll take that from a Mustang. It still does the same thing, right? It still changes gears, so it works. It's a gearbox. It counts completely. And at the same time, we'll just ignore all the custom stuff that makes the Ferrari, because this is how I see a console. The design and architecture of a console, they are optimized. They're optimized with all the parts to work perfectly in harmony with each other. He goes on about, oh, you can't upgrade that part 1 year, 2 years down the line. No, we don't want to, because we get optimized games which get better and better as the console ages. PC owners have swapped out parts left, right and centre by then because they feel the need to upgrade. That is their choice. That is one of the benefits, if you want to look at it to that, of PC. I'm not really knocking that, because I have a gaming PC myself. I just don't really use it a lot because I like the hassle-free nature, the plug-and-play nature of a console. I can just start a game knowing it's just going to work. I don't have to mess around with settings. I don't have to mess around with incompatibility issues and things like that. I don't have to wonder why my game's slowing down. It's because my antivirus kicked in or something like that. And it's like, no, it's just not for me. But I've never really understood why PC people like this feel the need to constantly try and push their argument all the time. It's really, really weird to me, because if a console owner, this is how it would go. Somebody's sitting there playing their PS5 and Mr. PC fan walks in and says, I just bought my super new expensive whizzy bang graphics card. It's the best thing on the planet and it blows away all the consoles. The console owner would probably say, oh, that's cool, mate. Enjoy it. Well done. When a console owner says, oh, the PS5 Pro's coming out, and bang for the buck, it's really good, probably better than any PC you can make for that money. PC owners go, no, you can't, it's impossible, PC is the king, it's everything, what are you doing? No, you must convert to PC, it's the master race, it's the king of all things, you cannot play a console, it is not as good, I don't care, I've looked at the specs, I've seen the numbers, I've seen the videos, but no, the PC is still the best, it has to be, this cannot be wrong, you peasant, you console peasant. That's one of the favourites, isn't it? And it's like, no, you cannot do it. Get a PC. I demand you get a PC, or I will just type like a maniac how you're completely wrong by getting a console. And like I say, other way around, console owner just goes, oh, cool, enjoy your new graphics card. Why are PC owners like that? Anyway, I think I've wrapped this video up now. Wasn't quite what I intended, but hey, I watched it, I recorded it, so I was going to get rid of it, but I decided to finish it up because I started it. But there it is, there's a video. If you enjoyed it, found it useful, helpful, anything like that, it'd be really cool if you bash that like and subscribe button. It really does help. But most of all, thanks for watching. I'll catch you again in the next one. Bye for now.